Hello, Air Warriors, and welcome to another episode of Chevrons, the podcast of the Enlisted Force. I'll be one of your hosts, Chief Master Sgt. Sean Sullivan, and I am joined by...
I am Mr. Tim Sandlin from the 102nd Intelligence Wing Public Affairs Office. Thanks for joining us today on this episode of Chevrons.
And today our guest is Chief Master Sgt. Cliff Miller. Chief Master Sgt. Miller is the J5 SEL. Now, the J5 is the Directorate of Logistics Policy and International Affairs, and Chief Miller specifically handles the international affairs with an emphasis on the Massachusetts National Guard State Partnership Programs. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. Our little focus is going to be on our state partnership program. So, Chief Miller, thank you for joining me.
Man, it's an honor to be here, Chief. This is my first podcast ever. I've never even done one with a friend. I'm a little. I don't even like listening to myself on a recorded telephone message, to tell you the truth. So bear with me, folks. We've got some good material, I promise.
Tell us a bit about yourself. What's your military story, and how did you get to your current position?
Well, that's an interesting tale, and it could go on for hours. But I did join active duty Air Force back in 1995 after a couple of semesters of college. Seeing the student loans pile up, it's a very familiar story to many people.
Sure.
However, I did get married before I joined, so it was an extra thought process in there. And I went in open mechanical and with stellar ASVAB scores, but you can choose from any job you want. Vehicle maintenance is open for you, and literally that's how I ended up in the vehicle maintenance career field.
Great.
So when my first duty assignment was McGuire Air Force Base, and I had a great time there. Learned a ton of my basic skills. Always thought mechanics will always tell you they're the best. So it's always funny to learn that you have a new best and how much you don't know, and a new problem arises and you have to solve it. So I was active duty for almost 13 years.
Wow.
And I went to Ramstein and ended up at Ellendorf Air Force Base. All vehicle maintenance the whole time. And then I had I really appreciated Alaska's beauty, and I was pretty much taken in. So I ended up joining the Guard from there instead of PCS. I'm from Colorado originally, so the mountains had their draw. So I spent 10 years at Ellendorf, including my active duty service time, transferred over to the 176th wing, and worked for the 212th Rescue Squadron as their logistics guy and their vehicle maintenance guy. And I was managed to jump on the technician program, got a spot there, and I thought I'd met all my goals. I was working my way towards Master Sgt. WG-10, Title 32 technician. This life was excellent and stable. So I progressed into, I'm not sure if everybody's familiar with the BRAC.
Oh, yes.
Base allocation closing. So we 176 Wing Coolest Air National Guard Base got closed down. So we moved on to the big Air Force Base, and at that point we had to give up some positions, so I transferred over to Title V civilian mechanic at the active duty wing, and then I ended up being an M-Day guy for a couple of years, and lo and behold, opportunity came up at the 168th wing, which is up in Fairbanks, and I just took a risk. I was sitting at about 15 years service, and said, I'm gonna take a swing at it. I was sitting in a tech sergeant billet, and it was a chief billet that opened up. So I was super fortunate.
That's great.
I didn't think I had a chance in the world, but I took a risk and left at it. Was selected and developed through there. The 168th Wing did a great job. Several mentors there that showed me the ropes and got me the real professionalism that I needed to lead airmen and take chances. I championed the several programs for airman development and professional development. I always pride myself on being a pretty good party coordinator. So all those family activities. So
It's the
Yeah,
intangible skills, Chief. It's the intangible skills that get you the job.
intangible skills. Well, if there's one word that sums me up, it's probably intangible. There is no direct path, and that's why it's tough for me to tell you about where I came from. And this is you might get an idea of how bad my interviews go, because it's hard for me to focus on one, event or path that got me to where I'm at. So, long story long, I ended up as the chief there at vehicle maintenance, fleet manager, pursuing opportunities within my function and within the wing, and things were kind of going on, and I was kind of wondering what am I going to do next, and everybody that is been in that position always like, okay, I didn't even think I was going to make chief, so what am I going to do next? And an opportunity for ADOS orders came up in here in DC for the National Guard Bureau of Space Operations, and I put in for it, just leapt at it.
Yeah.
And I was fortunate enough to be selected for that. Spent a year and a half as the only chief on the NGB Space Ops staff, and their senior enlisted leader, and their S4 is really what my title was, the S4 superintendent, taking care of logistics and whatnot for the developing proposed Space National Guard. Anyways, from there, we kind of stalled out, and sure enough, SEA Whitehead really had a vision on, and it was Colonel Matt Wenthy at the time as the J53 International Affairs Division Chief, that they were looking for a certain personality to engage in international affairs, and I came to mind, and they brought me on. So it was one of those weird paths, and now I'm sitting as the NGB J5 Senior Enlisted Leader, global traveler and international man of mystery with long introductions.
Do you get a briefcase and a fedora and a trench coat? Around?
I try to be as inconspicuous as possible. I think it depends on where I'm going, but that is in the repertoire there, the costume.
I just wanted to thank, first thing out, I just wanted to thank Chief Miller for joining us. Just my mea culpa. I had the opportunity to meet with and now work closely with Chief Miller for going over a year now, if I'm not mistaken, in a variety of different things. And we have managed to become close. I wanted him as a guest on here pretty much from hello, because what he is doing for the Guard, and with emphasis on what these state partnership missions and opportunities have for our enlisted folks, I just thought that this was just a great opportunity to get the chief, who is basically manning this program, pulling all the levers and giving it traction and getting it out there on here to explain to our listeners exactly what the state partnership program is and exactly the value that it has. I just want to thank you for being on here, Chief. I know this is going to be another great episode, because I know most of our listeners, they think SPP and they think it's some motor oil sticker on the back of a NASCAR. But it is not. It is a high value program. So thank you for being a guest.
It is my honor to be on here. This is my first podcast, and I'm a little nervous. I was talking to Tim for a little bit here. I'm trying to work out the jitters, but it's an incredible opportunity to have this audience and whoever might hear this. I'm proud to represent the enlisted force in the international affairs and the state partnership program. Just like you, SPP does sound like a brand sticker, and it rolls off the tongue pretty good. But it's been a learning process, and I really want to change that and push the opportunity earlier to enlisted careers, just for their perception and their engagement. So thank you very much for being here, or letting me be here.
No, I actually, my first question for you is how many state partners are there? In other words, does every state have a partner? And how many partnerships do we have across the spectrum?
Well, Chief, this is a kind of a complicated question. It's not. It really isn't that complicated. Okay, I can say we've got 87 partnerships with 95 countries at this point, but we do have countries that have fallen into the we're not actively engaged with them. And let me read those off. We've got Bolivia and Cambodia and Venezuela. Those are our three, we call them dormant partnerships. We didn't officially end the partnership. We're there when they're ready, their government's ready to engage. But at this point, it's been a little bit less. And actually, Bolivia, I think we've had a couple interactions. And you gave me a lot of credit for pulling all the levers and everything. But I'm telling you, this river's like 6 miles wide. And when I first got here, I was a quarter inch deep. And now I'm about an inch and a half. So I am in a great position to answer questions because I've got the experts around me and the support of the J53 and J5 staff. It really is a team, and ultimately that the state partnership program directors in every Joint Force headquarters, those folks are really the heroes that are coordinating all these individual efforts for all these countries and partnerships.
Well, I would imagine you've got all these moving parts, but you also have probably a lot of eyeballs watching the program, like people from the State Department, every governor, right up to the executive branch. Everybody's watching, right?
That's correct. The DSCA in my Air National Guard, in my wing mentality was defense support of civil authorities. And there's another agency that's out there, which is the Defense Security Cooperation Agency. And that's the DSCA that really monitors our engagement and the objectives that we're supporting across the United States and across the globe. Somebody's got to have the overall point on mission. And they're the ones that say, yeah, that's a great objective. And these are the politics that are going on. So we really have to be underneath that cascading leadership and direction.
What are some of the highlights of the state partnership program? I mean, what would you say one of the bigger success stories is with a nation we may partnered with recently that's paid big dividends?
Yeah. That's a softball question, and it's the talk of the town. Ukraine-California relationship and the way that it just all fell into place when Russia invaded Ukraine. California was the first people they called. The relationship that they've developed over the past 30 years it paid huge dividends in just the relaxed conversation. I know who I'm going to talk to, and I don't want to talk to a familiar face, a familiar person, and that was California and Ukraine. I hear it several times, and I can't tell you how much these individual relationships across the globe matter, and you never know where it's going to matter most. So the Guard does the best job because we have the biggest net of consistent engagement with these partners, and really these guys go to PME together. They do events together as young sergeants and young officers, and one day we're into that development path where they're now chiefs of defense and command senior enlisted leaders. So these relationships, they go deep, and it's just a wide net. So we're there for when anything happens, but ultimately we're there just to make friends. The state partnership program is all about relationships. You really can't do it wrong. I guess just like every relationship, you have your ups and downs, but as long as you're making progress and staying engaged, it's just all goodness.
I find it unique that we've got NATO and we're part of NATO and we have NATO countries. This is beyond NATO. These are countries that are not in NATO and that we have relationships with, and that's amazing to me.
It really is. We look at my map in my office here, and when you talk about all those over 90 countries engaged, and in critical AORs, we really wanted to talk about the operational aspect of SBP. But what is operational about a relationship? We do teach them skills, and we do that. But ultimately, it's just the familiarity and the trust that you build across the globe. And you're absolutely right. It's not just NATO. It is almost the entire South American continent. Spread out across Africa, all of the Indo-Pacific, and of course Europe and Central Asia. It's just it's awesome. And I'm very proud of this program.
Yeah, and like you were saying.
Now,
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Chief.
I was going to say, in light of recent events, with the success, the well-publicized success of the Ukrainian military and, the roots that it had with the state partnership program in California. I mean, that wasn't the only factor, but it was one of the factors that helped change the way that they do business and reorganize and how it has led to their success. Has that initiated a domino effect of other nations that have not been part of the state partnership program or didn't have a partner? Is there now an increased demand of countries that were not involved that are looking for partners?
Absolutely. We have seen a surge. Everybody, not only countries, but also senators. Everybody wants to know more about SBP and what's the magic behind it, because we are pretty much an underdog. A lot of Northern European countries, with the addition of Austria, that changed the whole landscape. Normally, people think of the partnership program as a hand up, and this is more a parallel relationship where we have peer-to-peer engagement, and so that maybe changed people's perspective of what we can do and how the partnership looks. Yeah,
I was going to say. It's kind of fortuitous for especially a country that gets hard hit by, countries that are hit by natural disasters, and there's already a relationship built there. For a country that gets hit, say, by a big hurricane or an earthquake,
Absolutely.
There's already a relationship established, which probably makes logistics so much easier.
Absolutely, it's just like that trusted path. When a lot of times it's just banter back and forth. A lot of WhatsApp, a lot of Signal, not official chatter, but just, hey, how's it going? And that just keeps the relationship warm. And when it needs to surge, you call a friend, and that's exactly what they do.
That's great.
These guys, we've got bilateral affairs officers in each of these countries. Most of these countries. There's always a little bit of transition and going in and out, but for the most part, we've got boots on the ground at an embassy that's in each of these countries. So they're a great sensor for all agencies when asked to use it.
And that's one good point about the partnerships that we have, is that the slant isn't just on military matters. It's not just, we're not just there to give them a lean on when you think of traditional things that the military uses or has necessity for, like troop formations or aircraft deployments, wherever. It is also a big part of that is what can we do to assist you in other things where we provide assistance, in our own country, particularly in the National Guard, with, as you said, natural disasters. Which brings us to Massachusetts. One of our partners is Paraguay, and Paraguay has had an ask for Massachusetts on firefighting and firefighting equipment and how to do forest fires and stuff like that, which has led to a lot of new initiatives and a lot of work that we're doing now with Paraguay, trying to provide them with fallout gear. Different departments in Massachusetts, they get a bunch of fallout gear. They get multiple sets of fallout gear, and they end up with extra, fallout gear. Stuff like that, helping to equip them, helping them with, how they fight firefighters. What are they doing with fire brigades and fire lines, command and control of firefighters. And it just started off with a simple ask from Paraguay. Hey, Massachusetts, do you do anything with firefighting? We could use some help with that. And it's just turned into an opportunity for our guardsmen and a lot of enlisted guardsmen, predominantly an effort that was, our soldiers and airmen was predominantly soldiers, but our National Guardsmen going over and engaging with them and helping them with, ideas on how to fight fires, ideas on equipping, ideas on communication. So it's just like one little thing where these relationships can leverage, and you're really improving how your partner can conduct business just by tools that we can bring to the table.
It absolutely floors me how awesome that these individual conversations happen, and I've seen it time and time again. I get to interact with the tags, right? I get to witness the tags and the chiefs of defense as they talk, and it really does come up to that small ask. Oh, and the light bulb goes off, and well, we have this capability. And it's even, the next level is when it, moves over into the civil side, and we've got, mayors and governors and businesses that interact along with the same lines, and it blossoms from there. And the broader that partnership, the more information you receive, and the more they engage. It's an incredible trust.
So Chief Miller and I had an opportunity to be part of Chief Master Sergeant of the Air Force Bass. She had a senior enlisted international leadership summit that happens every 2 years. And I was invited as a National Guard representative, and Chief Miller was invited as the SPP representative. I believe, Chief, there were 61 nations that we had there.
It was incredible representation of air power and leadership on the enlisted force across the globe.
It was fantastic. And not every member there had a state partner, but several of the state partners that we have in the National Guard spoke, one of them being the chief of the Air Force for Ukraine.
Absolutely.
And Chief Miller and I were there and attending. And when they pointed out that Chief Miller was the state partnership program that fell under his purview in his J5 office, and after the chief from Ukraine spoke, there was a line of countries and their senior enlisted leaders that do not have a state partner. How many countries do you think lined up and talked to you, and then eventually us about the state partnership program, looking for a partner after that conference?
It was tough to tell in the auditorium there, where I focused on one face at a time. It's so incredible to have that desire and the capability to talk to it. Your guess is as good as mine. I'd say at least a dozen folks that approached me and said, "Hey, how do we get involved? And what's the next step?"
It was amazing, the interest and the impact that it could have, because then stories started flowing from senior enlisted leaders from other countries that were talking about things that they had done and engagements that they had with their partners. And one of our other partners, Kenya, I for the first time got to meet face to face with their senior enlisted leader. And we started talking about different things that they'd like to do there that I've now brought to our state, our SPP director here at the Joint Force Headquarters, and that we're already looking to bring to them. So it's these little engagements. It's just amazing to me how much these conversations that you have with your partners can just bear so much fruit and lead to so many good things for both us being able to partner with that country and help them, and just what they can get out of the relationship. And it's a symbiotic relationship. I think you and I got more out of engaging with these partners and what they gave us than anything we could provide them.
I agree. I learned something new every single time, and a lot of folks may go into this thinking, the military, the U.S. military is the best in the world, and I agree. But when I approach somebody individually, I learn something every time I contact these folks. It's been an incredible experience to watch and really, the states do it the best because they're the most consistent. I've got a broad purview of all those 95 countries, but it's your Chief Master Sergeant Sean Sullivan's conversation with leadership of Kenya and the leadership of Paraguay that really plants these seeds and gets these ideas going.
Oh, my turn.
Yes.
Do we want to go?
I figured you could ask the next question. How do people get involved?
Yeah, sure. So, Chief, I'm sure our listeners are curious right now. How do I get involved in this program? How do I volunteer for duty in the SPP program? And what kind of qualifications is the program looking for?
Well, this is a complicated question because each state manages their own SPP program. Each Joint Force Headquarters has a State Partnership Program Director, an SPPD, and they really coordinate the efforts of the state. What I would say, if I was a young staff sergeant in a shop somewhere and I wanted to get involved, I would look at my skill set first of all, and I would definitely work through my chain of command and say, hey, how can we apply our skills to the state partners that we have? And then I would, just keep escalating. And ultimately, it has to be a combination of the country wanting exactly what you got to provide, and a lot of it is universal. So there's not necessarily a specific AFSC. Sometimes it's professional military education. Sometimes it's life skills or it could be combat skills. It really depends on the partner. But I would definitely utilize your chain of command and then get to know who your state partnership program director is and see what their objectives are. Talk to your leaders, ask them about it. There's a good chance that they may not know, and you might plant the seed for them to get involved.
Sure.
And that's what it takes. It's a culmination of efforts to go across the globe and engage with other military services.
And for anybody from Massachusetts who's listening, and I'm sure it does not differ with any other state, your state command chiefs know who the SPP directors are. Your state command chiefs are going to know what engagements are going on. Your state command chiefs are going to know what's coming down the pike. So the common theme here, again, I'll say it again, your state command chiefs. So if you're a young airman out there, you would like to get involved, you'd like to know what any future engagements are, a good conduit would be to reach to your Joint Force Headquarters or to your state command chief, where we might not have anything going on. We might not have a skill set that would be applicable for anything that's happening in the future. But if you shoot from Massachusetts, if one of my airmen, if you shoot me an email and say, I'm so and so, this is my AFSC, and here's some additional skills I bring to the table, I would like to be considered for a future opportunity. And that's where we get our names from. Now, it's ultimately going to come down as far as people who get selected for things or what you can do. There's the two caveats, or the two prongs. One of the prong is, what do you bring to the table, and does this meet the ask from our state partner? And the other caveat is your own command structure. You're going to have to go through your own commander, your own command chief, your own supervisor, your own, squadron group command. You're going to have to go through your commands to see if you could be accepted on there. This is not the state command chief and the SPP director and all of us. We do not pick the players. Those are picked through your individual commands. But at least we would have a name, and it gives us the opportunity to turn around and say, hey, we had a couple of ready names, wing chief, wing commander, just want to push these back down to you. Now you can, cycle it back down to the individual. But that would be the two prongs. You have to go through your own command leadership, and it has to meet the criteria. But your state command chief would be probably the best conduit of information, because we sit in on a lot of meetings. We engage. I see our SPP director every day that I come into the office. And if there's something on the hop or something brewing, then he will let me know. And I'm always looking for opportunities to get our enlisted folks out or involved in some of these engagements. Now, some engagements happen within states. Some engagements are remote, where you go to the host country. Some are virtual, but they all help build that partnership.
Well, and Chief, I'll say one thing. One of the reoccurring themes on Chevrons is, broadening your career, career broadening opportunities. And this is certainly one of them, and probably one that people don't think of immediately when they think of career broadening. You think stat tours, you think, going to state headquarters and doing a tour, or down to NGB. SPP is probably not at the top of the list of what people think of when they think of career broadening. And this is a perfect opportunity to not only broaden your career, but represent your country and your force, and bring whatever knowledge and education and experience that you have to bear to help other service members just like you, but wearing a different uniform.
That's exactly it. I really enjoyed the stories that come out of these activities, the events that they held, because you can't ever screw it up. I mean, when it's screwed up is actually a better story, because overcoming the logistics, once you get there in country and you're trying to set up the activity, everybody feels that stress, but they all come out on the other side together, and it ultimately leads to a good story, which leads to a good memory and a good relationship on the other side.
Chief, I got one final question for you before we go. Is there anything you'd want to add? Is there anything that we didn't ask you, or anything that you'd want to bring up about either your career or your office or your vision of SPP for the future?
Well, I'd say that I'd like to offer that NGB is just one of the layers in there. I know at the state level you're very focused. I'd like to give a plug actually at the Joint Staff. I know I'm a member. We put the Bureau in bureaucracy, but it really is essential for supporting the Chief National Bureau to have a consolidation team, take all the 54 input and try to make that in a digestible format. Once you reach this level, it's really difficult to take all the information in and make sense of it all. So that's my plug for Joint Staff, Guard Bureau, ADOS. If it wasn't for ADOS, I'd never have this opportunity. So take a chance, broaden your career, do a couple, years or 5 years, but take a chance and watch those announcements on the HR website. Let's see here. What else? My vision for the SPP enlisted force is going to be to create a network of multi-capable National Guard NCOs within international affairs that are employed at the Joint Force Headquarters, embassy of each partner country, and that are capable in their own tactical AFSCs and MOSs, but are also supplemented with international affairs experience. These skills and relationships will lead to a great, senior enlisted leader one day, so it'd be a great tool to have in your pocket. I do want to add one more thing. In my introduction, it was all military related. I do want to give a shout out to my family, my wife, Adrienne, and my twin boys, my two daughters, and all their support while I've been doing all this stuff, because being a global man of mystery, it's been an international man of mystery. It's been tough to support, with all the travel that I do. My parents, my brother Brett said I had to give him a shout out too. So I don't know if you can splice this in anywhere, but
oh yeah,
I definitely owe my own support network a huge debt of gratitude.
Chief Miller, I want to thank you for coming on and telling us a little bit more about this really, it's a program, in my opinion, that is of vital importance. And it is mostly because we are not going to be able to move forward in the future or to get involved in the next fight, if there is a next fight, without our partners. There's nothing that we can do as a nation, as a military, as an Air Force, without having partners throughout the globe and building those relationships, forging those bonds, having those friendships. And that is where this SPP program comes in and, creates friends. It builds wells, not walls. And that's the thing that you need the most with our nations and our militaries moving forward. More wells and less walls between us. So I want to thank you for your time here and letting us know a lot more about the SPP program.
I appreciate it, sir. please share my contact info as much as you want. I've got my business cards everywhere. I love answering questions, and I'll get to it. You send me an email, I'll answer it.
Yes, you do. You are good with your emails. I know occasionally you're out of pocket, but you have never left me hanging for more than a short period of time. And for our listeners out there, my fellow Air Warriors, and those of you who are listening, thank you for joining us for another episode of Chevrons. And in concluding, I want to say I appreciate your listenership. And if you out there in the field have any ideas for people that you would like to have us interview, or any ideas that you'd like to have us bring to the table, please shoot me an email. I am sean.sullivan.17@us.af.mil. Shoot me an email, and we will see what we can do about getting your guest of choice on here, or a topic of your choice.
Or be a guest yourself.
There you go.
We are always looking for talent, because I'm definitely not it.
You're getting better and better every episode.
I'm trying.
I
Excellent.
appreciate it. This is awesome.
Well, that's a wrap.